This is Opinion City, where pro wrestling gets the conversation it deserves. Real voices, real opinions, live every Sunday.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another brand new episode of the Opinion City Podcast, a late night episode of the Opinion City Podcast. It may be late night for us, but not our guest. But here we are. And it is a special episode. Not only do we have a very special guest, we have a very special guest host. You will recognize our guest host from his amazing interviews as an infield correspondent for Opinion City. It is the amazing Ben F. Silverio. In for Parmesan. Thanks for joining us tonight. I know you're excited about tonight's guest.
I'm very excited. You know, with May being AAPI Heritage Month, I'm so glad that we can showcase some AAPI talent in the community of pro wrestling. But also, June is Pride Month. So we're covering a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. And if you're curious about who we're talking to today, we have the protagonist of pro wrestling, the owner and one of the head trainers of T4T Wrestling in Los Angeles, California. Our guest today is Kidd Bandit.
And what are we doing for our top 5 today?
Oh, that's right. We will be looking at the top 5 video game protagonists. Since that's very on brand for our guest.
Yes. All right. Sounds awesome. Let's not waste any time. Welcome to the show, Kidd Bandit. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, I feel like I am the perfect transitional a guest for AAPI month and Pride month. So
we're literally like hitting the cross section. We're like right there.
Don't you love it when it rhymes like poetry? You know?
Yeah,
it's so perfect.
It all works out. All right.
Now, Bandit, I wanted to start with an apology. Because when it was announced that you were coming to Philadelphia for Labor of Love, I was so excited to see you in my hometown. But when the show rolled around, for one reason or another, I couldn't make it. No. So I said to myself, I would definitely catch you on your next tour of Philly. Then a few weeks later, you retired in Las Vegas during WrestleMania week. So my first question, when did you decide that your match at Effie's Big Gay Brunch 11 would be your last? Was that something you had in mind already when you faced Matt Mako here in Philly?
No, kind of. It was like, I knew I had to take a break either way because I had to get surgery. So no matter what, like after the brunch, I wasn't going to take bookings. But then I also figured, you know what? Like, I think I kind of did everything there is to do for me, at least. Like I hit my glass ceiling, and I've noticed too many of my contemporaries continuously chase that and then throw so much of their lives away and stuff, and for a dream that may or may not happen. And I figured I have a lot of other talents I could like utilize and stuff, and I equally love promoting and running shows as much as I do wrestling. So I figured, well, like, why not end one chapter and immediately start the next chapter, right? So, you know, as much as I will miss the thrill of being in the ring, like, I also knew that I had something else to do while I'm taking my break. And I know, you know, whether or not like I come back in the ring might not even be up to me, it might not be medically possible. So I figured if I'm gonna be able to say goodbye, I might as well do it in a big stage. Because not a lot of people will have that luxury to be able to like choose when they go out. Like I get to say that despite the short time I've done this, I was able to see the world, wrestle some of the greats, and go out while I'm like, you know, not senile or I'm not like all messed up and stuff.
Sure.
I was wrestling pretty good. It wasn't like I was struggling to get any bookings and stuff. So, you know, I like as far as it went, I kind of came out on top, and you know, and I'm using a lot of that momentum to, you know, kind of kickstart the next chapter. Like as much as like it got promoted that I was retiring, I was also equally promoting like, hey, just because I'm retiring doesn't mean I'm leaving wrestling. I'm
Mhm.
starting this new thing up. So yeah, like at the time when I wrestled Matt, I didn't know if I was retiring because we had a great match, mind you. Like,
Yeah.
everybody loved it. I loved it. So I wasn't like, like in my head, I was like thinking, yeah, I kind of had to slow down a little bit because of injuries. My knees are hurting, my body's kind of giving out, and like, trust me, like I feel it these days, But yeah, it wasn't like I was, struggling really, but
Yeah.
I think being able to close a chapter in your life at the right time and
Mhm.
not overstaying your welcome is, something that I picked up from seeing a lot of people not do it.
Mhm.
And I didn't. I just was thinking to myself, I don't want to be like them. I want to be able to, like, you know, and like, I don't ever want to dislike pro wrestling because it's taken so much from me. I already got a
Yes.
lot out of it. I might as well take it and cash my chips in while I'm still ahead, and then
Mhm.
move on to the next thing. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, it's always good to go out on your own terms, you know?
Mm.
I remember a piece of advice that Tommy Dreamer gave me one time because I asked him because I wanted to get involved in pro wrestling,
Mhm.
on the behind the scenes end as a writer because I said to be a screenwriter. And he said, when I asked him, Tommy, how would you go about getting into the business that way? He said, don't, because then you'll start to hate pro wrestling. And I'm just
Mm.
like, oh, well, I don't want that to happen, but I also still want to do this. And he's like, well, if you still want to do this, you can do this, this, and this, but you might end up hating it. And so I'm glad that you haven't lost your hate or lost your love of pro
Yeah.
wrestling, I should say.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it definitely had a lot of things going against me, like, certain unique challenges that
mhm,
someone of my persuasion, in terms of a lot of things, have to
Mhm.
overcome compared to, like, most of my folks. And,
mhm,
my journey hasn't completely been an uphill battle. I've been very incredibly privileged. So, I definitely still have a lot of love for wrestling. If it's actually funny. Like, it's so funny that, like, when I was wrestling, I couldn't play WWE 2K. I just couldn't.
oh,
I couldn't enjoy it. Like,
Okay.
I'm just like, yeah, that's not how wrestling matches work. Like,
Oh
yeah, you
yeah.
have to structure it a certain way. What is this? What is this? A frog splash in the first 10 seconds of the match? What is this bull crap? Now I'm like, I don't care. I could just play the game again. So I think circling back to, like, back to, like, the opposite side of the barricade, like, I have an extra love for wrestling because I understood what it's like to be there. I understood what it's like to tour, the sacrifices that wrestlers have to make, the amount of, like, days that you don't spend at home, how beat up your
Mm.
body is from traveling, and just meeting, like, a lot of people. Like, it's crazy. Like, I was only around for 4 years, but I'm watching, like, people I wrestled 4 years ago on Raw and SmackDown and AEW, and I'm like, wow. Like, that's, like,
Mm.
mind blowing as a fan to be like, yeah, I kicked that person's head once. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
dude, I love
So
that.
so we're talking about love of wrestling. So I've had this conversation with a number of people and gotten some really interesting answers on both sides of it. But now, as someone who is retired and kind of looking at the business from a promoter's aspect and whatever, do you find yourself able to just watch a wrestling match and enjoy the wrestling match, or in your mind are you thinking, oh, I would have done that differently, or they should have done this? I mean, does that just kind of creep into your mind when you're watching wrestling?
It depends how stoned I am.
Oh,
Ah,
okay. There you go.
um if it's my friends and I'm, like, backstage working a show with them, I remember specifically feeling this way. I definitely watch matches to study and, like, um kind of see what's up. Like, with an analytical mind. specifically because a lot of the conversations like backstage when you're traveling with folks and sharing car rides with them, like they'll bring up like, oh, how was my match? Did you get to see my match? And like you never want to be that person in a car ride that goes like, oh, my bad, I was on Twitter, like I didn't see your match, my bad, like, so like, and I think it's like, proper like etiquette to like, hey, like, we should all try to like support each other's like craft, right?
Mm,
So yeah, but during that time, definitely more analytical and very studious about it. Even like, most of the wrestling I did consume, like I never really consumed for the quote unquote love of the game. I always consumed it in the studious sense. Like I watched it to pick something up, to analyze like, certain moves and nuances, like maybe like, something I started doing too, and like it wasn't like really taught to me, it's just something I learned on my own, was if I was going to a new city and I'm working for a specific company, I'd watch shows from that company and listen to the audience. Like I specifically would watch a show and only focus on the audience, and gauge how their reactions are based off like what wrestlers do, and like, kind of get the idea of what kind of audience I'll be performing in front of. That way, like, I could cater my wrestling style to like, and maximize that stuff. And yeah, and I think like these are like, advanced level like things that you pick up as a performer that, you apply to how you watch wrestling. As a fan, however, like me personally, I just want to see cool flips and kicks and moves and like triple power bombs and like, like that's my core as a wrestling fan. I was like, like I love wrestling storytelling, yay. I also think that wrestling story can be very formulaic, and it can be very uh it can be very recycled and regurgitated and stuff. Like I haven't had like a very like legit emotional connection to a wrestling storyline since like Kofi Kingston, like, with Kofi Mania. Like that was like, I feel like the last time I genuinely like could not stop like, like paying attention to
wow.
what's going on, like for a build for a storyline, and that's also because like as a wrestler, instead of consuming things as a fan level where you're keeping up with storylines, you're consuming like so much. Like you're going to like an ice cream store and you're buying every flavor to try to figure out the best like sorbet or like the best banana split combination and stuff. And because you're trying to craft, like you're trying to incorporate like, that stuff into your own. But as a fan, you get to just sit down and like listen to what they're feeding to you, let it affect you a certain way and stuff. And that as a performer can be challenging because you can never really truly turn off that inner critique, that inner student in you. You always want to be able to apply. um so yeah, like, now as a fan, I'm very much more just sit back, eat my popcorn type of wrestler. I specifically watch a lot of AEW because like, they do a lot of crazy cool moves, and I always
Oh
believe
yeah.
that wrestling is like the most advanced form of stunt work because it's a one take live, no reduce, like, full contact type of like performance that usually gets put together like an hour before the like the bell. So yeah, that's what I love about it.
God, that's so exciting. That's a great part about the whole pro wrestling experience. I love that, and not a lot of people really talk about the audience and how their role that they play in the whole thing. But now that you are a fan again, I'd like to go back to the very beginning of your pro wrestling fandom. Like when did you first get into pro wrestling, and who were some of the wrestlers that really drew you into that experience?
Uh, my introduction to pro wrestling started really with a video game. So I grew up in the Philippines, and wrestling on TV when I was younger wasn't easily accessible. You had to have cable to even watch SmackDown, and even then, like the SmackDown that you'd watch would be like, I don't know, like 6 months behind. Like it's not freaking. So you had to be like really like well off in order to get like Raw, like, or like SmackDown that's like, current. And my friends in school, they talk about wrestling, and I'm like, oh, I want to talk about wrestling, but I don't know anything about wrestling. So, I finally got myself a PlayStation 1, and one of the games I got was SmackDown 2 Know Your Role, and it was pirated, so I was able to
Yeah.
get it. Like I got it for like I think like if I was to equate that in like dollars, I got it for like 0.0001 cent because
Ooh,
it was like pirated and it had my PlayStation 1 jailbroken and stuff.
oh, that's
So
Yes.
great.
yeah. Hey,
We
this
love big ups to piracy.
I was a little kid. I was a little kid. This was around when LimeWire was a big thing, y'all. All right. Anyway,
Oh, that's
um,
great.
so I played a lot of SmackDown to Know Your Role, and then I got PlayStation 2, and that one was in jailbroken, so I could only afford one game. And the game I chose was actually I got two games. The first game I chose was SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, which was my
Mm.
first PlayStation 2 game, and I got Tekken 5. So
Yeah.
like so I was very much
There you go.
influenced by Tekken 5. I
Sure.
wanted to create a wrestler that moved like they were from Tekken, like and looked like they were from Tekken. And so that
Mm.
was like my creator wrestler. Um, but as far as like wrestlers then that I gravitate towards, like the very first time I saw pro wrestling was when we were traveling, and I got to stay in a hotel and they had cable, and I'm like, yay, I'm gonna go see what wrestling's on right now. And it was on. And the first thing I see was a video package of Dominic Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio's like custody of ladder match.
Oh, the custody of Dominic. I love it.
The custody of Dominic ladder match. It was like a vignette, and it played SmackDown, and they showed a couple of like matches and stuff. No, actually, it was Velocity. It was Velocity. They played some
Ooh.
Velocity matches and stuff, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." Yeah, I don't recognize any of these wrestlers because like they're not on SmackDown vs. Raw '07. Like they're on Velocity, so they didn't make it. Yeah, but I
Oh,
did know Ray and I did know Eddie though. So yeah,
oh,
That's awesome. Yeah,
The
that's cool.
the veteran Dominic Mysterio,
right, yeah,
Oh,
it's
man.
the
crazy where
20-year veteran. So you
Hilarious.
mentioned the Philippines. The Filipinos are such like a pride. I mean, like they're a very proud culture.
There you
You
go.
know, being Filipino myself, one of the things I always like to bring up first is food. So, do you have a favorite Filipino food?
Ooh.
I just ate it.
Ooh,
Did you?
look at
I'm
that.
jealous.
So
Right.
so this is like homemade polvoron.
Yo, homemade.
Okay, now wait.
Jealous.
Now I'm a fat white dude. You have got to explain to me what that is.
I want to see if I have some left over. Hold on. No, I don't.
Because you can talk about the food, but you gotta explain this to me. Tell me what you're eating here.
Um, so this one is the cookies and cream flavored one. So think
Yes.
think of a powdery shortbread cookie,
Okay.
but it's completely just like powdered, like but in solid form, so it doesn't crumble like from like your touch. Like
Mhm.
it's like kind of frozen into each
Cool.
other, but like
Yeah.
it's not cold. Like it's
Yeah.
like I guess like the easiest thing I could equate to is masapan. Like it's like I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's like a Mexican candy that's also like powdery and stuff. But to
Okay.
give you an idea of what it tasted like, it's like having the powdered version of a cookies and cream ice cream. Like just the powdered version of
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. Like I don't. That just sounds amazing. Now I'm gonna be thinking about that.
Bandit,
Yeah.
I'm so jealous that
Yeah.
you're in California because I used to live in California. I lived in Glendale, and so I was in Eagle Rock
Okay.
all the time, getting polvoron and pandesal, and
Oh,
Yeah.
all of the good stuff. But I had to move back to Philadelphia, where there's considerably less Filipino restaurants and bakeries here.
It's funny though, because when I was in Philly, I actually talked to a lot of Filipinos. Like, I was like,
Oh,
whoa, yeah. I think kind of surprised me.
yeah, the community here has grown over the past 10-15 years, definitely.
Nice.
Like there's a really good restaurant in South Philly called Perla that does kamayan, with banana
Yeah.
leaves, and
hmm.
it's delicious food. Um, but another thing about Filipinos is that the stereotype is that while Filipinos love performing, many work in medicine or engineering. So, when I told my family that I wanted to be a writer, they were pretty confused by that. How did your family react when you decided to get into pro wrestling?
Okay, I'll share a little bit of what I do. Like, when outside of wrestling, I actually own like certain medical facilities. Like I run them as a
Oh,
director. So like yeah, so
wow.
I'm in the medical field.
Oh wow.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
And so I'm actually in the medical field, and like I use a lot of like the money I've made from that job to like fund my wrestling career and stuff. So
Way to steer into that.
Yeah.
yeah, so I never truly got out of that stereotype, I guess. I just worked administration instead of actual medicine. Yeah.
Okay. I get that. You know, I did a little bit of that too. I worked at a home health care company doing like
Yeah.
routing. So
Yeah, exactly what you're talking about. There we go.
we all get roped in sometime.
Yep,
But
absolutely.
so when you got to wrestle in the Philippines, was your family proud of that?
Yeah, it was pretty cool actually, because like um I think it shocked the promoters and like just everyone in town when I came home and I spoke Tagalog like fluently. And it's funny because I left the Philippines in 2008. So apparently I never grew out of 2008. So when people would talk to me, they point out like, "Oh my gosh, talking to you is like a retro throwback," and I'm like, "The fuck does that supposed to mean?"
Yeah.
Like all my slang is outdated.
Oh,
Like all
boy.
my jokes are like old. I'm still talking about animes no one's seen in 2 decades, and I'm just like, I thought this was the Philippines. What the hell? What happened to the home I loved? I'm just kidding. So yeah, I think I think that my family just being able to see how connected I tried to be with like my culture as long as I have, and I'm not even like fully Filipino too. I'm like mixed. So, but I did grow up in the Philippines. So I think people are just like everyone from my family to like, the fans and like the other wrestlers. I think they were just like ecstatic at the idea that like, despite moving to America, I tried as much as I can to like stay in touch with my home culture and keep up with the times, because my family's in there. Like my family's still living in the Philippines. I try to keep connected with them as much as I can.
Oh, that's great. And the Philippines has a really great emerging wrestling scene right now. I mean, people are talking about Super P because she was in Lodestone. Is there anyone from the Filipino wrestling scene that you've had your eye on?
Yeah, there's way too many like wrestlers I think that are in like the Southeast Asia like region that let me put it this way. There's an emerging Southeast Asia like scene overall. And I am very happy that the Philippines is like a big part of that. So Robin Sane, Jake De Leon, you Super P, like they're all coming in from like the same area and stuff. And mind you, the Philippines is made up of like so many different islands,
Right.
and like not only are they all coming together in like Manila, which is like the central location, like the people from Manila are also flying out to like Singapore, to Korea, to Japan, to China, to Indonesia, to Thailand and stuff. Like, so it's pretty cool how wrestling in the Southeast Asia region has ultimately kind of just started to support each other and stuff. So I want to say, and there's a lot of queer talent too, like Chelsea and stuff. So I'm trying to put it to words. It's definitely a must watch scene in the sense that what they're doing right now isn't completely influenced by a specific standard. And what I mean by that is like the indies in America is always going to be influenced by whatever's whatever's hitting great on TV. Right? And the same can be said in Japan. Like, like the Japanese indies are always going to be influenced by the bigger companies like Stardom and New Japan and stuff. So like the scenes are always shifting to fit a specific mold. But the Southeast Asia regions they're not, they're all islands. They're all separated. So they're all developing their own unique like aesthetics and cultures, and they're sharing that amongst each other. And the identity that they're able to build is going to be completely unique compared to all the other wrestling companies, right? Because like, we talk about like lucha libre and how different that drastically that different that is from like what gets over in Canada or Europe. Like what people like in Europe is not the same as what people like in America. The Southeast Asia region is developing stuff like that. So I think that people should pay attention to like how that's forming, because I think it's definitely going to be unique, and that uniqueness is going to create like even more unique wrestlers like moving forward and stuff.
Oh, that's so cool. It's such a good time to be a wrestling fan right now because of all of these different genres and flavors that we have going on.
Right? Yeah. Like I will say, when I wrestle in the Philippines, I was seeing moves and certain stuff that don't get done the way they do it. Like they're like that. That's I guess like that's what I was trying to like really get to, is that they want it so bad that they invented like a version of it from themselves. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's so cool. So now, as 1 month celebrating part of your identity ends, another one highlighting a different part of your identity begins, with Pride Month coming up. But your queer journey was a little bit different since you came out as trans while being a public figure. You've touched on it before in other interviews, but can you elaborate on what you would have done differently in an ideal coming out situation?
I wouldn't have done it.
Oh,
I would
you wouldn't?
No, I would have like honestly like here's what I would have done. I would have just transitioned but never said anything. And people are I just want people to be like, does Bandit have boobs now? Is Bandit a girl now? And I'll just never address it. It'll just be like, yeah, just happen. Like, and people, if anytime anybody asks me, "Are you trans?" I'm just not gonna answer. I'm like, "What do you think?" Like, that like if I was gonna redo it, like, I'd still do everything the same. I just would never talk about it. That way, it can be kind of like a joke. Like, it'll be a funny little bit. It's like, I'm gonna get people like wondering like what's going on with Bandit over there and stuff. But I'm just kidding. Yeah, like I like that's how I would do it jokingly. Like if I had to redo it, I'd just never talk about it so it could be funny. But no, I think coming out publicly was cool. It was that it set a unique challenges. It was definitely difficult to navigate. But I also had like, a lot of like perks, I guess. Like I wasn't necessarily the first person to do it. Um, I had footsteps to follow, mentor figures to reach out to. I was definitely like, more loved than hated in terms of like the support online. So I think that I think it ultimately was a good idea in the long run. Definitely helped me, become more confident with who I am. Um, uh, I guess like, you know, it it happened around the time where it was more socially accepted. Like the world was a little bit more woke when I came out, and then gradually over the last few years, it's like, kind of gone downhill for people like me. So it is what it is. It is what it
Yeah.
is. But you know, I think the idea is always going to be the same regardless. Like, I grew up as a minority, and therefore, even when I debuted and haven't come out yet, like I was already representing like a minority group. And then I came out, and now I'm representing a new minority group and stuff. And it felt like, business as usual. Like, like in order for you not to disappoint anybody, just don't be a dick. Right? Like, don't be a jerk, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've been cussing. I
Oh,
haven't cleared it.
don't worry about it.
Okay,
No, you're
perfect.
good.
I apologize.
You're all good. It's all good.
Yeah, but like, I didn't want to be a jerk. I didn't want to be a jackass. And like, and honestly, like as a public figure, you have to realize how important that responsibility is. Like people like either look up to you or use you as a means to distract from like whatever like crap they have to deal with. Like, you know, you're a platform for escapism for them. And you know, and that's your job, so take it seriously. Like, you know, like don't ruin it because, like, you know, you did something to compromise all that goodwill and stuff. And you know, I knew that I figured that out fairly early on, and I think that mentality is, like, you know, really shaped how much I presented myself, both as a queer wrestler and as like as a I'm sorry, as a Asian wrestler. Like, you know, I was always like very mindful with how I conducted myself. Like, you know, I always wanted to be able to like speak and stand up for the values and stuff that I represented, but I also wanted to make sure that everything I do, I go about it the right way, because, you know, if I ever compromise myself, then I don't want to, like, you know, negatively affect the people that I'm supposed to, like, you know, proudly represent out there.
And I think it's interesting because, you know, as a public figure, and going through your journey as a public figure, you have this unique position where, you know, you're, as you said, you're representing a couple different groups here, you know, queer, trans, Filipino, all of these things, but you have the ability for your story and your journey to be the inspiration for someone out there who may be scared to come out or say something, or, you know, come out as trans. They may be afraid of that, but then they see someone like you, a public figure who is obviously successful in what you're doing, and they see that, and that gives them, you know, that gives them confidence, that helps them in their journey. So you, the way you did it as a public figure gives you that unique ability.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real. I don't know why people like me.
Well, sorry. I guess that was all for nothing then.
No. Yeah. But yeah,
I don't know why people like me either. So we're good.
No, I don't know why, but they do, and you have to acknowledge that, right? Like, you can't just be like, oh well, I don't like me, therefore I'm just gonna like ignore how everybody feels. Like, no, like at some point I had to reconcile the fact that, like, hey, like, you know, there's something about this journey that resonated with a lot of people, therefore I should probably not ruin it for everyone, right? And that used to consume me a little bit too, because, like, there was like so much PR training you gotta get done, so you're not, like, you know, going. And I'm a big stoner, so I just go on Twitter and write whatever the hell I want to do, you know, like. but like, you know, you can't do that. You can't just. You can't just like pop a couple of, like, you know, shots of vodka, go on an interview and just like say what you feel. Like, you can't just do shoot interviews, like trash talking like companies that you work for, and say these things, because then the dirt sheets are gonna like come swarming like sharks and stuff. Like, they're gonna smell the chum in the waters, and before you know it, you're in the headlines, not for a good reason, you know. And thankfully that's never happened to me, because I've seen other people do exactly that, and I'm like, oh gosh, don't be like that. But yeah, like, to circle back to, like, always being a student, like, you can also learn a lot from social media and how people conduct themselves. And I learned a lot. I made a lot of mistakes. My first couple of years were definitely cringeworthy. And then thanks to, like, the guidance of, like, some of my contemporaries who, like, have been doing this for a while, I learned, you know, how to appropriately, like, utilize the platform that I've been privileged to, like, you know, get. And eventually, like, yeah, to go back to, like, you know, some people feel a lot stronger, like, thanks to, like, what they've seen, like, in my journey, and I'm grateful for that. And I can only hope that whoever saw themselves and wanted to follow my footsteps, I hope they go farther than I ever did, because, like, you know, the journey is going to be long and it's going to be tough, but, like, if they make it to the top, then I make it to the top, and all of us make it to the top, you know. And if every single effort from the community, right, like today, is nothing more than a stepping stone for one day someone in the community, like maybe in the future when we're all old and gray, can finally climb to the top with no bigotry, with no prejudice, then I did my job, you know, because, like, you know, every victory is going to pave that path, you know.
Yeah,
that's so great.
It reminds me of something I recently heard. we are much stronger together than we are apart. And
Yeah.
everything you said there just echoes that sentiment.
Yeah, and whether it's being queer or being Asian or what have you, no community is a monolith. Not we're not all just one thing. And the reality is that we're all unique in our own ways. And I love that you're very open about the ways that you are unique. And now under the T4T banner, you're a teacher and a mentor, so
Oh
you get
God.
to like bring that out of your students. So what are some things that you do to reinforce and harness your students' uniqueness, and how much of that did you pick up from the people who trained you?
I when we did our signups, I made sure to make it a point to ask everybody, "What's your athletic background? What's your performance background? Where are you trying to take this? Like, what are your goals?" Um, because something I learned as a wrestler is that it's a cutthroat industry, not only in the ring but outside of it, right? And if I really want to set my students up for success, then I have to like understand all the assets that they bring into the table. So if they have a dance background, great, let's utilize that, because guess what, when people dance in the ring, everybody gets jiggy with it. I don't know what it is. It's a common thing, right? Like, as soon as people start dancing in the ring, everybody goes, "Whoa, cool!" Yeah, so like we'll utilize that. If somebody has a breakdancing background, holy crap, we're using that. If somebody has an acting background, great. Like, yeah, let's wield all these things. And like something I unfortunately encountered, are schools that instead of cultivating these things, they'd rather like cut you back down to baseline, destroy and not destroy, I'm sorry, like bring you down to zero and then build you back up. And I understand like the mentality with that framework. It reinforces good habits while eliminating bad habits because everybody is starting from the ground up.
Mm.
um I agree with that for certain companies. For certain types of wrestlers, I think that would definitely benefit them. And honestly, I think that that is a tried and true method that has produced great wrestlers. However, one thing that we wanted to do different was to create a way more accessible like training program that utilizes people's strengths while slowly eliminating the weaknesses and stuff.
Mm.
And that means like if you're coming in from an athletic background but zero theater background, then guess what you're doing? You're learning Shakespeare. You're learning you're learning dance choreography. You're learning these things because at that
Mm.
point we're not necessarily out here trying to like drill like you know choreography into your brains. Like, no, if you already have the foundation set, then let's go ahead and like fine tune like the necessary like skill sets that you might need or lacking, right? And also like because we know your specific goals, we can work towards that. Because not everybody's gonna come into the wrestling world with a uniform like goal. Some people want to main event WrestleMania. Some people just want to be able to do this every other weekend. And some people just want to be bodybuilders and be able to justify being shirtless. It's okay. Everything is valid, right? As long as you're safe and you're entertaining, I think you're more than welcome to do this, right? And so like we want to like bring people like get folks to their goals. Like we want to like have a uniform base of like where do we start, how do we get there, and what can we use that's already there in order to help you get there. And yeah, that is ultimately how we're cultivating some like uniqueness amongst our trainees, how we're trying to like separate our like way of like teaching against like the more traditionalist places. Like when we're utilizing dance, we recently just brought in a professional endurance athlete to like help our trainees like learn like the importance of cardio, because like not everybody is coming from an athletic background. Most folks are coming in from a theater background, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
so yeah, we're going to have to like compensate for a lot of that, the cardio that's necessary in wrestling by incorporating a lot of like professional cardio elements. And these are also things I picked up from my time at the Nightmare Factory from Santino Brothers. Like, these are the schools I went from. Like, there was like in Santino Brothers, we learned a little bit of MMA. And Nightmare Factory, we learned a lot about Olympic weightlifting and stuff. And these are all like exercises and things that are cultivated in order for us to really fine tune our craft. Because like you can train wrestling all day, but you also have to look like a wrestler, know how to be an entertainer, know how to be a social media influencer, and you have to know how to like manage your business. And these are all skills necessary as an independent contractor in 2026. And we don't want to just like teach people how to bump and like do arm drags and suplexes. We want to teach people how to survive and thrive in an industry that's not necessarily like going to like give them a bone, because it has historically been cruel to marginalized groups throughout its like tenure. So yeah, it's going to be tough, and I don't sugarcoat it to everybody. And I just tell people like straight up, this is gonna suck, but like didn't suck that bad for me and for the others around me. So like it's definitely doable.
Great. I know it's still early in the T for T timeline, but as a promoter and a trainer, do you think that you and the promotion could be a resource in the future for WWE ID or Ring of Honor so that we can see more diversity in mainstream wrestling?
God, that would be so nice. Oh my gosh. That'd be great. Yeah, hit me up, yo. Yeah, like let's get that WWE ID freaking like affiliation. Hell yeah, we'll take it. Yeah, like, and I would do anything to give my students the head start that they could use as much as possible, because it's not going to be easy. I know that from firsthand experience.
Yeah.
And I had it easy compared to most. I went viral. Like, I got to skip so much of the lines because I went viral, then I ended up on DPW, and then I was on AEW Dark, like almost back to back, and I used that to springboard my career using social media. Like, I got to skip so much, like I didn't have to pay as much dues. And I am very well aware of that. And that's why I always like tell everybody, like, it's not freaking gonna be easy. So whatever advantage that you can ethically gain, take it. And I mean, I have to say that again, ethically gain. Like, that's a very distinctive part, because like whatever you do that's not ethical will eventually come back to bite your ass. And it's gonna be on, and if it's not gonna be on Twitter, it's gonna be on TMZ, and you better watch out,
Nothing disappears from the internet.
No. I love your mentality in looking at this as, these wrestlers, if they want to get somewhere, they are not just becoming a good wrestler, they're building themselves as a brand. And I love that viewpoint that you have towards your students and letting them know that, hey, that's how you're going to get ahead in this world of social media, in this world of, trying to, break through barriers that you may encounter.
And there's a lot of barriers. Like for queer folks, there's a lot of barriers. Yeah. But go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, but like, thankfully, you're out here, breaking down some barriers with T for T. With the first show coming up on July 3rd in Los Angeles, you have some incredible talent that's world renowned, like Sunny Kiss and Nyla Rose, Dark Sheik, Giselle Shaw, Akira. But you also have some up and coming talent that's really exciting. Who are some of the stars of T for T that people should be looking out for, and who do you think could potentially steal the show?
Ooh. Oh wow! Now, this is like the worst question to ask me, because I can't play favorites. As a promoter, I can't play favorites because then they're gonna see this interview and they go like, "I didn't get named. Where's my shout out, Bandit?" I'm like, "Oh boy."
Sorry.
I will say this. Like, as a general blanket statement, because I'm PR trained. I'm just kidding. But this is going to be a PR ass answer, because I genuinely believe it anyway. We are watching some wrestlers that just have so much passion for this that I'm just like, I thought for sure we were gonna be stuck doing roles for like 3 weeks, and I'm like, yeah, we're gonna do roles for like the first few months, and then hopefully by the end of like the last week, they know how to do a clothesline, at least just a clothesline, and then we can figure out how to do a match with just clotheslines. That's not impossible. We Today we just saw them like do lucha libre, like they were doing freaking like tilt-a-whirl head scissors, and I'm like, what the? How did this happen? And I just realized how like these are folks that have been like that ignored that do not try this at home warning, and here we are like now they're getting access to like actual ring, actual professionals with like experience in how to like do these things, like so now really like we're just teaching them how to like put matches together, what works in certain spots, how to like lay in strikes, how to like all the collective experience that us coaches have. We're like throwing it out there, and we're letting them like we're basically buying like parts to build the Lego Death Star, but we're not like giving them the instructions. So be like, build whatever the heck you want because because the parts are from Star Wars. We know it's gonna be sick anyway. Like and we're there to like ensure that there's a lot of supervising involved too, because like we don't want Canadian destroyers and like match one and stuff like. Which mind you, we might end up getting a Canadian destroyer if like the people keep progressing in here, and that like and it's tricky, right? Because I also want to be able to train the fundamentals and like really drill that and stuff. But like what we're training them for is for like a short showcase recital thing. So they're wrestling each other. These are folks that they've trained with each other. We're kind of approaching it like the same way that Glow approached like their training program, or like WoW superheroes, where like they're not necessarily going on to the indies wrestling whoever and whatever, like we'll eventually get them there, but while they're working with us, like they're going to be like rehearsing their matches for weeks. They're able to like really work on like fine-tuning elements, so like yeah, it's TV ready, like but it got put together after a long amount of like preparation and training and stuff. And I think that is the one essence I'm hoping to like eventually like eliminate. Like I want to be able to like train them up like good enough that like like they could work the indies and go out there and meet someone for the first, like meet someone new, shake their hands, and then kick them 2 hours later in the middle of a show, and because that was my experience. I meet someone new and I'm like, hey Matt Mako, nice to meet you, big fan of your work, you mind taking a super kick in the face, like like stuff like that. That is ultimately one of the most magical elements of professional wrestling. That's what makes indie wrestling so like must see, because like if you're in the know, that these shows are being put together like the same day, like with very very minimal rehearsal, like if any at all, like so and there's something to be appreciated about that kind of like punk rock like minded like almost like improvisational type of like approach to pro wrestling and stuff. And we'll eventually work our way towards that. As far as like who will steal the show, I think everyone's dying to. Like, I think that when we announce this, like I'm dying to steal the show, and I'm not even wrestling. Like, I'm because when we announced the show, I remember I was really angry and stoned. Like, I was really angry and stoned, and I saw Ronda Rousey on TV, and I'm like, why is this bitch still on fucking television? Like, she don't even like wrestling. And I just, like, casually, randomly tweeted out, like, fuck it, I'm making a trans wrestling company. And then I log in the next day, and the tweet blew up, and I'm like, uh-oh. Like,
What did I just do? Uh-oh.
Yeah, it ended up getting so much traction. It got covered by news outlets. I'm like, it's being like quote tweeted on like MSN and Yahoo, and I'm like, what? Like this is the worst way to ever announce a wrestling company. Like, our company like literally started with the 2 words, fuck it. Like, that's how we started. And I'm not happy about that. I'm like kind of like bummed, because I really had like this whole professional idea in my head when I was like coming up with this, right? But that's the nature of what we are. And I think that level of like almost need to prove something to the world, like
Mhm.
got passed on to like not just myself, my students and like our like trainees, but also our coaches, our
Mm.
our ancillary talent that's coming in, that's like performing at like the top tier level. I think they're coming in here too, and like we just had a sister show that was co-promoted and co-funded by T4T Wrestling. It happened this Friday. It was kind of like a little bit of like a preview night for T4T Wrestling, and it happened in our training venue. And it was very punk rock. It was so punk. Like I don't even know. Like it looked like we were like wrestling at like transgender Mad Max. Like that's how fucking punk rock this place
Whoa.
looked like, right? And I was just like, okay, cool, great, great, great. Like you look into the crowd, all you see was colored hair. It was magnificent. So so we were doing this show and we were just like seeing how everyone's reacting, and we had Dark Sheik versus Richie Coy for the main event. And like Dark Sheik, like when she came out, like she was just like, oh my gosh, this is like the energy here is just incredible, like and I'm like, yes, like that's exactly what we're hoping. We're hoping to like bring our brand of wrestling in front of new different eyes. We're not only hoping to make fans of wrestling be fans of T4T wrestling. We're hoping to get like people to be fans of wrestling, to get into
Mm.
wrestling because they saw like folks like us like performing and stuff. And like
Mm.
I think that's what we did on our sister show. Like there were folks that came in, they had no idea what the hell a wrist lock was. They had no concept of how to like chant, how to like, engage with the wrestling as like our
Mm.
typical wrestling audience would. But by the end of the night, they were chanting, "This is awesome." And I'm like, okay, great. Like y'all figured it out near the end, and they became wrestling fans, and it was very lovely to witness. And I hope that come July 3, like, with that, would our students like having like that fiery passion of like wanting to prove something to like everybody else, just kind of like coming into this atmosphere that's unique and very very welcoming towards the community. Like I think that I'm hoping that invokes like a level of like, okay, like now we go harder than that we ever have before, because that was
Mm.
ultimately what drove me to start T4T wrestling in the first place. Was I competed at the now defunct T-Boy Wrestling in September. And I had the time of my life. I've been chasing that match high since,
Mm.
because like I've never felt a crowd that loud before, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. This that's my Wrestle fucking Mania moment. That's why I retired. I'm never gonna.
Mm.
Nothing's ever gonna get that good ever again.
So
Wow.
will T4T be streaming anywhere if people can't make it
Ooh.
out to California?
Yeah. Honestly, it's probably just gonna be on YouTube. I want to make this as accessible as it can be, at least for the
Right.
first show, and then
Mm.
I'll charge people money because I'm a dirty capitalist pig.
Well
Gotta go to the
said.
pay window.
Listen, man, I feel that
So
100%.
So last question before we get to your top five. The old saying in wrestling is never say never. So if the right match or opponent or story comes along, would you consider stepping back into the ring if you were able?
Kenny Omega, get your
Ooh,
ass over in Los Angeles.
Whoa.
I'm just kidding.
yeah.
Wait,
Kenny
no, you
Omega
can't.
at T
You
for
cannot.
T.
You cannot throw that out there and then say you're just kidding. Like now we got to start a campaign to get Kenny Omega and T4T.
Kenny
Oh, that
Omega
was.
versus Kidd Bandit in Tekken at T for T.
You know what?
Ooh.
I will definitely like fight Kenny and Tekken. Like they just announced Roger Jr. is gonna come back on the new DLC pass, and I was a Roger Jr. Tekken Lord in the arcade and when in Tekken 5. Like, I was a freaking Tekken Lord. All right, so like I'm pretty confident about my Roger Jr. So like I think I got I think I could take. think I could take on Kenny and Tekken. That being said, no, I think I'm done. Like maybe a couple of surprises here and there. But something about just knowing when to go, like and just stay gone. Like, I guess like
Mm.
Yeah.
it's not like I'm not getting fulfilled anyway. Like I'm training
Mm.
wrestling. I'm honestly I've been retired for like over a month, and I've still bumped every week. Like I'm like
Mm.
I'm still I think I'm like even busier like doing logistics for T4T wrestling than I was when I was
Sure.
touring and stuff. Because like back then when I'm touring, I'm just like, all right, time to time to fly somewhere and wrestle. Now it's like, oh, gotta answer email, and stuff. So like, gotta figure out lighting and camera, and oh my god, what is this like? Yeah, but like never say never is true. Like I think I, you know, I wanted to be able to say goodbye just in case I will never ever get the chance to say goodbye. And it's looking like I'm not going to be able to come back in wrestling. And I have made peace with that. If the opportunity comes later on and it makes sense and like, my needs aren't shot, like then yeah, let's do it. Especially if it's for a great cause. Like, if it's for like if it's going to like help people or if it's just going to like bring the right amount of smiles to folks, then yeah, like I'm always going to be open about for it as long as I'm medically cleared and stuff. But I'm not gonna actively look for that. I think if like it's gonna be one of those things that if it falls in my lap and it all works out, then yeah, great. But I think that the legacy of Kid Bandit the performer has come to a nice satisfying end. That like I hey look, I got out of my wrestling career scandal free. Like there's no drama. Like I never pissed anyone off to the point like there's like repeated like fucking threads like talking about that shit. Like I got off clean. I have like no enemies. I have no drama. Like whoa. How cool is that? Like in an industry like pro wrestling where people like have their egos constantly clashing, I got out of that as a transgender woman with no beef. I was a vegetarian. I had no beef. It was amazing.
No
And yeah, right. Like, I'm like, great. Like, okay. So now as a promoter, like, just gotta keep that streak going, right? And if I never come back, then the legacy will never be tarnished. So yeah,
There you
like
go.
that. I guess that's like that answers the question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
And from experience, I know how hard it is to be a vegetarian and be Filipino. Like every Filipino thing has meat in it. So
Oh,
Yeah, don't I know it?
all right. Well, going from wrestling to another passion of yours that we've brought up a couple times during the interview, that takes us to your top five. Which, Ben, remind us again, what are we talking about today in the top five?
all right, we will be talking about Kidd Bandit's top 5 video game protagonists.
All right, I'm excited to hear this list. Let's the floor is yours. Hit us with your top five.
All right. Look, we've been
Here
here
we
for
go.
an hour, so I'm gonna make sure not to keep y'all any longer, right? So,
Oh, listen, I
Jeez.
I stay up all night. I don't care. Look, we'll just go all night.
I'm still in
Alright, so-
California time.
Yeah.
So this is I apologize. It's a late interview. All right, so here we are. We're gonna start off number 5 with a very controversial pick.
Okay.
We are gonna go with Raton Hageron / Connor Kenway from Assassin's Creed 3. Controversial take. Not a lot of people like Connor Kenway. Like everybody was coming off Ezio Auditore de Firenze, this charismatic, super like likable Italian Renaissance man, like stabbing away at the Pope, like fist fighting like the Borgias. It was great. It was a great adventure. Then they get like this extremely stoic, like quiet, like half Native American, half white, like character. And my God, like the reception to Connor was not good. They did not like the lack of humor. They did not like a lot of things. They thought that Connor was bland. Like they canonically revealed that like Connor was a virgin during the events of the game, and like people like you start off Assassin's Creed 2 having sex with a woman, like raising someone up. So like people are like, what is this? Like this is such a far cry departure from like what worked in Assassin's Creed 2. And I love that brave decision by Ubisoft. I thought that took so much courage. I thought that from a creative standpoint, like spoke volumes with how like the integrity like for the story was like true to them. They said, yeah, we know y'all wanted a player. We know what worked with Ezio. We're not gonna give you that because a Native American making Marvel-esque quippy jokes during the Revolutionary War does not make no goddamn sense. That man would be pissed. That man kept getting done dirty. And even
Yeah.
after the end of the game, only to find out that his people was gonna get done even dirtier. Like it's like
Ooh.
the fate of that character is tragic, and therefore the story needs to feel tragic. It needs it to feel hopeless. And yet the character's essence was all about fighting despite the hopelessness. Not because there was this victory waiting at the end. There wasn't this big grand plan to win the entire thing for Connor. Connor was kind of just like going chapter by chapter trying to figure out what the next right step is. It was always going to be a constant uphill battle. And I think stories like that are extremely like relatable for a lot of people. I think that, it takes a lot of courage to be able to tell a story of someone that's willing to fight despite everything being doomed, because people want instant gratification. They want a revenge story that satisfies that need for vengeance, that need for justice. People want the gratification of a story that gives them a happy ending, or a tragic story where nobody wins. But that's not what Assassin's Creed 3 does. Assassin's Creed 3 tells the story of someone that hopelessly fought over and over and over, and then at the end you get no satisfaction. You just get, there's more fight to be done. And that is historically fucking accurate for Native Americans. That is historically accurate for the people that Connor was representing. And I thought, with the amount of work that Ubisoft put in to doing right about the Native American tribes that they work with in order to create that authentic experience, I thought that really resonated with me as a history buff. I thought Connor was a great protagonist, and that was a very, very risky and definitely not a well received story. In fact, I think Assassin's Creed 3 is a lot of people's least favorite Assassin's Creed because it wasn't fun. It was tragic. And I think that's how many games let you play as a Native American person and explore that culture. There's not a lot. And I think being able to get access to that through a cool character in one of my favorite franchises ever, I thought that was really good. So that's my number 5.
Okay.
Connor can't wait. Yes.
Very cool. All right. Moving on to number 4.
This one's going to be a lot less of a tedious explanation because I don't want to keep y'all too long. But number 4 is going to be also one of my favorite Glup Cheetos, and this will be Cal Kestis from the Jedi games, the Respawn Jedi games. Main protagonist of Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order, and the upcoming third Jedi game. I like Cal Kestis. I love the entire presentation of his storyline. I think that, coming from a time where we had Force Unleashed and we had the badass Starkiller, and before Starkiller we had Kyle Katarn, fulfilling that video game Star Wars Jedi role is going to be a very tough role to fill, and they knocked it out of the park with Cal. I think that I never felt disconnected from the character when I played as him. I wanted to know what happens next. The side characters for his journey are they have lives of their own. So not only does Cal feel like a character that exists within Star Wars, everyone in his cast also feel like they exist in Star Wars. And I think that's what makes Star Wars such a good franchise, is you never know who might show up in a cameo over here and stuff. I kept hoping to get Cal Kestis and Mandalorian Grogu,
God.
yeah, I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know if he's gonna be there, right? But but the fact that I get my hopes up with every new Star Wars entry, hoping to see one of my favorite video game characters in there, is it does wonders for for me as a Star Wars supporter. And the combat is great. Just I do wish that we were able to just one shot people with our lightsaber like the movies do. You can't win it all sometimes. But yeah, Cal Kestis would be my number 4.
Awesome. Okay. All right, number 3.
And we're gonna stick with sci-fi for this one. For number 3, we're gonna go with Commander Shepard from the Mass Effect trilogy series.
So good. Oh.
Yes, Commander Shepard is the main character of Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. They are the player controlled character that you could shape the background, the personality, the love interest, the kind of journey, whether or not they survive, how they navigate like the galaxy, how you save the galaxy. Like, do you want to burn all the bridges in order to like save the house, or do you want to like make sure nobody starves, but then by the end nobody's there, like, there's no weapons to like, fight the Reapers and stuff. Like, it put the entire franchise like exists because like they make you Commander Shepard, and they're able to like, cater to every type of gamer like that wants to like fulfill that like power fantasy of being a sci-fi hero. And like very much in the case of Cal Kestis, I think that the casting crew around Commander Shepard also like elevate them as a protagonist. I think that the way that you can choose how to interact with certain people, like whether or not people survive, like based on like your choices. Art.
All right. Well, we may be having some technical difficulties here. Oh, hey, there you are.
Okay. Sorry. What did I leave out with?
You were on Commander Shepard talking about how his choices shape the narrative, and
okay, perfect. So yeah.
Oh.
Wow, that
that
was interesting. So, and we are. Hey,
okay. So
number 3.
All right. So Commander Shepard's cast of characters, like, you get to shape and influence how they evolve gradually. And I think that's cool because like, what are we but not like fragments of like our involvement in other people's lives are just fragments of their lives. But regardless of how short our time involved with them, we hope to like leave a lasting impact. Like, I got that power fantasy fulfilled in a sci-fi game thanks to Commander Shepard. I got to see my digital friends grow, and I'm so proud of them for their character developments. You know what I mean? And like,
yeah.
And it's cool because like you yourself can go through character developments if you so choose, and that's entirely up to you. You could start off as an asshole and then gradually like soften and mellow out, or you could be the other way around and just gradually harden because like the universe needs tough heroes. And I don't think a video game franchise successfully like creates a character that you can embody in a long running franchise where your decisions from previous entries like ultimately affect everything else moving forward, and you're literally there like reaping what you sow. So I think that like Commander Shepard definitely takes the 3rd spot. I think that if you haven't played the Mass Effect franchise, like they released the Legendary Edition, which is all 3 games combined with all the DLCs. Like if you wanna like find something to like obsess over for the next few months, and to the point where you want to call out of work, then that's it right there.
Oh, listen, I have never gotten sucked into a video game story like I had Mass Effect. Like you are not kidding. It will take away weekends. It will take away days, hours, months. And the sad part about it was Mass Effect Andromeda was such a letdown.
You know what? I replayed Mass Effect. I didn't like it at launch. I really didn't. I couldn't. It just lacked a lot of that. But then somebody told me this, and it finally hit me. Mass Effect 1, 2, 3 is Star Wars. Mass Effect Andromeda is Star Trek. And then I'm like, oh, I see.
Now I'm gonna have to replay it now that you said it. That's amazing. Like, boom, mind blown. Wow.
Yeah, because when I approach Andromeda not as a Mass Effect like sequel, but as like its own little like spin-off adventure thing, suddenly I'm like, so that's why the humor is so like lighthearted and PG and sanitized. It's fucking Star Trek,
Amazing.
And I love Star Trek, don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah. All right, up to number 2. We're getting close.
All right. For number 2, we're gonna go ahead and go retro, and
Okay.
I will have to go with like a fighting game character here. I'm gonna go with Jin Kazama
Mm-hmm.
from Tekken.
Yeah.
Specifically, his journey from Tekken 3 to Tekken 8, where this emo fuck finally learned that he needs therapy.
Yep.
And he got that therapy from fighting his dad. And
Mhm.
Yeah, you can't make that stuff up.
who happens to be the devil. Like, like you know,
Yeah.
there's so many twists and turns. Jin's storyline, like you have the classic shonen setup where it turns out you have the dark evil energy inside you all along, and now he became like this edgy protagonist that has a dark half that he has to fight and all that stuff. And then you get to like a certain point, like Tekken 6, where he ends up becoming the villain. But oh wait, what was me? He's only a villain because there's an even bigger villain that like he has to fight, and like he had to be the bad guy so he could beat an even badder guy, and blah blah blah. And then you get to Tekken 7, and he's trying to like atone for his mistakes, and he's just suicidal. And then you get to Tekken 8, where he realizes I have friends that care for me, and therefore I need to live so I can take care of my friends. And I'm like, oh, so literally the King of Iron Fist are literally the friends you made along the way. That's the real King of Iron Fist.
Yeah.
And it honestly fits the campy storytelling of Tekken. Like, it's like in a weird way, it was so ironic that it became unironic. I love that because he's just so emo. He's like the most he's like Sasuke Uchiha. He's like, Urukwa from like Bleach. He's that stereotypical, like, doesn't say a line but like looks into the distance and like has the wind flowing and blows their cape type, like, aura farmer. And then the ultimate lesson you get from his journey is that, like, yeah, being edgy kind of sucks. It's all about, like, kindness is punk rock, like like Superman. And it's just like, oh great, yeah. And you rarely get that level of like extremely cheesy, wholesome, like character developments in modern like storytelling. It's always like, yeah, what's the price that you're willing to pay to like save the world, or something extremely nuanced and deep. And it's nice that Tekken, like, with his character development, was able to like just look at a character and say, like, what would be funny if we made their character arc literally like the most shonen basic ending ever, where you save the world because you love your friends type shit. And somehow it works. It's it's inspirational to see like this extremely emo guy that hated himself learn to love himself. And I think that the world would be a lot less terrifying if angry men just learn to love themselves.
Facts.
Wow.
Yes, absolutely.
And you got all of that from a fighting game, which is amazing.
Right, yeah, even better, right?
Yeah. All right, this is it. We've finally hit number 1. I'm excited to hear it.
I'm gonna go with a post-apocalyptic character for this one. We are gonna go with the Fallout New Vegas Courier.
Oh.
And that will be a lot because same reasons as Commander Shepard. The Courier is a sandbox type of character. You're more than welcome to put your own spin to their history, to their backgrounds, to their lore, to their choices, how they affect the world. I think the Courier takes the cake because there's way more character specializations available. You want to be someone that wears a raggedy dress and boxes people to death with a rolling pin, and you happen to be a nuclear physicist on top of that. Like, yes, Fallout New Vegas will fulfill that fantasy if you want. I also think that, if you're stupid, like if you set your intelligence really low in Fallout New Vegas, then your character just says, "Oh, what? Oh, I don't get it." So like, very highly customizable character, and it's kind of unfair to like put like someone like that, because at least Commander Shepard, like when you pick a dialogue option, like there's a pre-made like dialogue that you get to say, right? Um, so like Commander Shepard by themselves does exist like as a character, like like even if you had someone like just keep pressing X on like the third option, then you're gonna only get a Renegade Commander Shepard the entire run. Like it's always gonna like you're going to like basically just be a jerk saving the galaxy, right? The courier doesn't necessarily have that. There's so many nuances in how like each like quest can be solved, how each NPC interaction can be different based on like your relationships to other NPCs and stuff. And it's I put the courier on top because the level of freedom and sandbox that New Vegas gives you with the courier literally lets you put yourself in the shoes of what the person you as a player would do in the world of Fallout. Because the other Fallout games, there was already a pre-established mission. You're a vault dweller, you gotta get a water chip. You're the chosen one, and you gotta go save like the city. Fallout 3, your dad went missing. You gotta go find your dad and save like save the water. Fallout 4, it's like, oh, they stole your kid. Like now you gotta go save your kid. But you don't necessarily have an attachment to this vault. You didn't grow up there. Like like your character did. You didn't grow up in New Arroyo, so like you don't care about being the chosen one. You only knew Liam Neeson, your dad, in Fallout 3 for like a few cutscenes before he went off and vanished, and suddenly you're expected to like, okay, I guess I gotta go chase him. And Sean's a fucking baby, so like like you don't know, like like is a baby of the spouse that ends up getting killed in the first cutscene of the game. Like, okay, great. But in Fallout New Vegas, you're just some person that got shot in the fucking head. So like, like the inciting incident of that game is personal for you because you're like, yeah, I want to know why I got shot in the head. Like I'm alive. I survived getting shot in the head. Let's go get revenge. Or not revenge. Maybe you're just out there trying to answers. Maybe you're a sick freak and you want to sleep with the person that shot you in the head. You can do that. Like that's the beautiful thing is like the game offers you all these options and stuff because they realize that the best kind of RPGs are when you can take a blank slate and fulfill what type of archetype you want there. And I think the other Fallout games don't necessarily capture that sandbox freedom that the Courier has in New Vegas. And no other game really. Like, every other RPG game usually has like some kind of connection that tethers your main character into the big grand plot. But Fallout New Vegas's plot works because the big grand plot intertwines with your personal plot like later into the game. It almost feels like every action you do in New Vegas just kind of snowballed into like this big, okay, now I'm fucking important. Now I'm accidentally important at work. Well, shit.
All right.
Wow.
Well,
What a list.
from the protagonist of pro wrestling, there you have it. The top 5 video game protagonists. Now, before we move on, got a couple follow-up questions because these things just popped into my head. Number 1, you're a video gamer. Are you a tabletop role player?
I don't have enough friends for that.
Oh, I'm going to tell you, I understand that. Because where I live I used to play in a group of 15, and where I live right now, I got nobody. So I completely understand that.
I one of my favorite hobbies is going on like White Wolf Wikia, which is like how like for Vampire the Masquerade. I know how to play the game. I know all the rules. I know all the lore. Never once touched the tabletop RPG. I played the video games.
Gotcha.
I played the video games. That's it.
Okay. That's number 1. Number 2, you said you're a Star Trek fan. Yes. Okay. Favorite show? Because this tells a lot about a person.
I don't like the shows. I like the J.J. Abrams movies. I'm sorry.
Wow.
I did watch a couple of like Deep Space Nine.
Oh, Deep Space Nine. Yeah,
I saw a couple of those when I was younger, so I kind of knew what it was, but I wasn't watching it like from beginning to end. I was kind of like picking up in the middle.
Yeah.
So I was all over the place. It wasn't until the J.J. Abrams movies where I'm like, oh, so that's how the lore is and stuff.
You're getting
Like,
drawn it, yeah.
Yeah, that I didn't get the privilege of being introduced to it in the same narrative like start as like I did Star Wars, and I think that's why I was like way more into Star Wars, because like the first movie I ever saw was Phantom Menace. So I was like, okay, so I knew what the entire the entire saga of Star Wars from episode 1 chronologically. I didn't get that with Star Trek until the J.J. Abrams movies. So that's why I prefer the movies. I like it. I think it's definitely more exploratory. Like it's more like a, because when I was watching the show, like eventually like it was more of like a villain of the week, adventure of the week kind of show, that like formula. So I think there was a lot of room to like showcase like character bonds and interactions and growth and stuff. But no, I got into Star Trek because of the movies, like the recent movies. So yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. And lastly, and this is something that we've never asked anybody on this show before in 151 episodes. I can't believe it, but I just thought of this during your top 5. All right. You're stuck on a desert island and you can only have one video game system, but you get the entire library of that video game system. What system are you picking? See, even Ben likes that one. He's like thinking about it now.
Does the PC count as a system, or?
I want to say no, because I know you're going to pick the PC, but
all right. So let's
take PC out of it.
All right, let's take PC out of it. All right, all right. See, I want to say PS5, but also like there's no games for the PS5.
Yeah, I bought mine and I couldn't find a single game to purchase.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. All right, you got it.
I have an answer.
Yeah,
but it's specific.
Okay.
If I was going to be stuck in a deserted island in the years 2007 to 2014 or 2015, let's go 2015 to 2014. Let's go 2007 to 2014. That 7-year period, and I have internet access and Xbox Live. You give me a 360 and get me Halo, get me Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And no social media access, because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get canceled.
All right, fair enough.
Because I was built by those lobbies. I was forged in the fires of the toxicity of an Xbox Live lobby in those years.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And I don't miss them, but I did spend quite, like, I lost so much of my childhood in those like lobbies. I'm not gonna lie.
Wait, so which community is more toxic, wrestling or video games?
Oh, now that's a tough one.
Okay, so you'd think it'd be video games, right? Because it's far more broad, But I will say this about wrestling fans: y'all ever go on social media on a slow news day, and then like suddenly the big talking point is like so and so did this, and it's like someone like, I don't know, like doing something incredibly like minor and not even like newsworthy, but then people are like so bored and like just okay. This is how I want to describe wrestling fans, and I'm kind of like a little, I don't know, I don't know how to like articulate this without like offending anybody, but I will say this: like, I used to go to Tumblr all the time, and Tumblr would always create discourse where discourse doesn't exist, right? Like, like they'd watch like an episode of a TV show, and they'll point out like, oh, that's racist. Oh, why is it racist? Oh, because like this happened, and it's like, that has nothing to do with the show. Like, that is something the actor did completely separate from the show, that like somehow you tied into the show because this is the actors playing a character in the show. Like, okay, like, like they fabricate this stuff, like they pull it out of nowhere, and wrestling fans love doing that. They love doing that. You could be talking about like, oh, AEW is so great because this match happened, and you're like, oh, so you hate WWE? So you hate WWE? You don't care about like what like the legends that made this business? And I was like, what? Nobody said that. No, it's Wednesday night. I'm watching AEW. like and on Friday I'll talk about fucking SmackDown. What the fuck is this? And I think the fan base of wrestling just like thrives on like discourse. It loves discourse because it's drama about like, you know, kayfabe fighting, and I think secretly people are gossips. They don't want to admit they're gossips, but like, you know, people want to hear like shoot interviews. They want to hear like the drama, who and who is like, you know, shagging, like all that stuff. Like, why do we care so much about this stuff? I get it. It's because it's showbiz, and it pretends it's not showbiz. It doesn't want to admit it's showbiz. It doesn't want to admit that. It wants to pretend to be like this extremely like, oh, it's performance art, it's high art, it's like, you know, it's this extremely unique things. Like, have you seen this match? It's 5 stars, great, but it's also fucking showbiz because people are talking about like, oh my god, like I heard so and so shared this story with someone else, and I think they're dating now. It's like, what? How do we get there? How the fuck did we get there?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and it happens so often. Video game discourse, video game fans never like that. They're just racist, and they bitch about like they bitch about like people being ugly and pronouns and like character creation. That like, okay, great. That's like that like they haven't evolved from that. It's always been like that. It's been like that like all those years ago, and like, you know, they've never grown from that. Now, but wrestling fans, they went from like, I want to hear why Paul Heyman almost got shot by Tommy Dreamer, to like, oh yeah, I heard so and so wrestler posted this tweet on SmackDown, or posted this story on during AEW, and they must be fucking. Like, what the fuck? How do we get here?
Yeah, wait, true.
If there's one fandom that loves chismis, it is wrestling.
Right. It's showbiz. It doesn't want to act like it though. But it loves chisme so much.
Absolutely. All right. Well, as we've mentioned a number of times during the show, T4T Wrestling, their first show, July 3rd, 2026, out in Los Angeles. You've seen across the bottom of the screen. Make sure you're following Kidd Bandit on socials at Kidd Bandit Pro, and head over to linktr.ee/T4T Wrestle to get all of the T4T information. Follow them on socials, find out how to get tickets, how to see them. So make sure you are checking that out. We are very excited to see where this goes from here. You know, you're having your first event, and it looks to be an incredible event, and we're just excited to see what is in the future for T4T Wrestling. Now, is there anything else going on you'd like to throw out there to the world? Anything else you want to promote?
No. We are. I am going to be hosting Death and Family in Texas on June 14th. So if you are around Austin at that time, please come through. It will be lots of fun death matches, lots of fun matches. And it will be hosted by yours truly. So if you miss me, I'll be around.
Amazing.
Cool.
All right. Well, make sure you come back next week and check out our interview with Mikey Banker, the big bro of the Delinquents. We'll be chatting it up with him next week. So make sure you check that out. And that's going to do it for us. We're super excited to have you on the show today. I mean, we're so excited for your time, and just to get to chop it up a little bit about all things T4T Wrestling, all things Kidd Bandit, all things video game protagonists. Man, it's been a blast.
Thank you. I hope I wasn't too yappy. And also tell Mikey I said hello.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, you were not yappy at all. We enjoyed the conversation, and you are most definitely welcome here on the show anytime you want to come on and talk about anything. And we look forward to talking about getting some more T4T talent on the show before the first big show here. You know, get to talk about that. So we'll definitely be in touch and try to make that happen as well.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Opinion City Podcast. For the protagonist of pro wrestling, Kidd Bandit, for Ben F. Silverio, I am King Ralph. And remember, kindness is free, so be kind to each other. God bless each and every one of you, and we will see you next time.
Mabuhay.
That's Opinion City. New episodes live every Sunday on YouTube. And to our Patreon members, thank you for supporting independent wrestling media. We'll see you next time.